This past month, I discovered that in real life there is often a big difference between what might work in theory and what actually works in practice. So I'm currently living in my car, and one of my favorite parking spots is actually over there, but at the moment it is taken for now, and I gotta wait until the guy is finished and hopefully take the spot. And when I think about it, on any given night, I would be very willing to pay whoever's parking there a few bucks just to get him to move his car over here, and then I can move over there, just to save the aggravation of having to change a parking spot in the middle of the night. And the reason I like to park there, by the way, is because they have an AC outlet and they are within range of the Wi-Fi inside of that building. And I was thinking that on any given night, more often than not, I would be very willing to pay $5 to change spots with that guy. And I'm pretty sure the vast majority of people would accept that, especially because I'm parking at a gym. You know, he probably gets some exercise of walking from here to the gym. And I think it would be a very worthwhile trade for both of us, in theory at least. In practice, there are a lot of social barriers that can get in the way. You know, first of all, I have to track that person down. If I go into the gym and say, hey, who has license plate ABC123, that's a big social taboo already. And then to offer somebody money to move their car, they might assume that I was dealing drugs or something and needed that space for some crazy reason. And it just goes to show that what happens in theory and what actually happens in practice can be very different concepts. Earlier this month, while I was on vacation in Taiwan, I took a plane from Los Angeles into Seattle, and I had picked a window seat on the side of the airplane where I could view outer space. I like to take pictures of outer space. But my seat got changed because some family needed it. You know, it's kind of funny. I went online to read the airline policy, and they do indeed have a family policy. And here in America, we seem to value family more so than the single individual. If you watch the nightly news and you watch Donald Trump, he's always talking about how he can save an average family money on their health insurance or on their tax bill. It's always like families can save $500 a year on their taxes. Or you hear middle class families. It's never a middle class individual. Or you hear about you get the idea. Or wealthy families. You know, it's never the wealthy individual person who has a $1 billion idea, right? It's always the wealthy family. And it kind of gets on my nerves. It's not just the airline seat that got on my nerves. It's the fact that the word family gets tossed around so much. In any case, what I'm saying is that I would have been willing to pay quite a sum of money to change the seat. I ended up getting a seat that I wanted, but it makes me realize that just because two people were willing to make a trade doesn't mean that trade will actually happen. There's a big difference between practice and theory. There's all sorts of social barriers that could occur when one tries to do something like that. A lot of times I run into this trouble at places that I work at, or when I'm living with people, and I have chemical intolerances. Not quite multiple chemical sensitivity, but chemical intolerance. And I would talk to somebody about not using certain chemicals when I'm around, and they're probably very willing to not do it. But the gist I'm getting back, the response I'm getting back, seems like they want something in return for it. They don't say it out loud. I wish they said it out loud. You know, in some cases, I might even be willing to pay money to avoid having them use it. But they don't ask for money, so they ask for all sorts of weird favors. You know, in the workplace, it could be awkward. You know, it's not even easy to describe what they're wanting because they're not speaking it out loud. See, this is where in theory and in practice can really collide with one another. In theory, you know, I'd be willing to pay, you know, $3 a day at my workplace for these people not to use the chemicals, and I bet they would be willing to accept. in practice, it's a social no-go to do that, and so they try to corner shoot other benefits that they can get working with me, or they make fun of me and they degrade me in some way. This is where theory and practice really diverge from one another. Theory is very beautiful, practice is chaos. I sometimes want to follow these polyphasic sleep schedules, especially these days because I like viewing outer space, and I want to be awake during some of the night hours as well. And in theory, you save a lot of time. There are some schedules and plans that only require you to sleep 4 hours a day or 3 hours a day. In practice, when I did it, I might have only slept 3 hours a day, but there are a lot of other costs. You know, when my line of work and all my hobbies, they require a good train of thought. It's not very easy to just do something X hours a day if they're broken up. And so it didn't quite work out. And you'd have to be doing pure labor for anything like that to work out. I don't know how people could get it to work out. I'm not sure if there are any health benefits, but it didn't work. The other schedule that I wanted to try, which I talked about in previous videos, is to have cycles that are not 24 hours. I've thought about some other cycles. One that I wanted to try was a 27-hour cycle. The reason I chose 27 was because every time I fly back from New York to Seattle, I feel so good on the day I fly back. And I almost feel like that should be a normal day for every day. The other time schedule I thought about, which is a little bit less extreme, is 24 hours and 50 minutes. The reason being that that's the exact time it takes for the moon to rise from one rise to the next, and I could follow all the phases of the moon. And of course, the problem is that it's completely out of sync with my work. It's out of sync with a lot of other things. It's great in terms of, see, I have friends from all around the world, and sometimes I like to chat with them online or even talk on the phone. If I had a 24/50 cycle like that, or I had a 27-hour cycle, everybody that I know I would get a chance to talk to them on a regular basis. Not every day, obviously, but on a regular basis. And of course, either one allows me to see the nighttime sky from time to time, and one of them allows me to see the moon every night, or not see the moon every night, because sometimes I want to see the other stars. Anyways, it works in theory. In practice, people hold a lot of momentum to their everyday lives. If all of a sudden Donald Trump announces today America will follow a 24-hour, 50-minute cycle, chaos would descend. Even though everybody would be better off on the new system, the transition would be disastrous. I mean, a couple years ago, just going into daylight savings time, changing the daylight savings time was a mess. And every time we've tried to change time zones or how we measure time, it's a mess. Even the people at NASA who are working on the moon, who follow the 24/50 schedule or actually it's Mars, I think. Mars has a day that's slightly more than a day. Those people could be a mess just because of the sudden change in their social environment. And even though there might be many benefits, just the momentum of what they've been doing for whatever point in their life, it might have been 20 or 30 or 40 years that they've been doing it, to suddenly give that up could be a little bit of a mess. So the point I'm trying to make in this video is that practice and theory are very different concepts sometimes, but at the same time it's great to know what you want in theory, because then you can make steps to go toward that direction. Maybe next time I'll actually offer somebody money for one of these things that aren't currently on the market yet, to kind of make some noise that they exist. Thanks for watching.